with my good friend Tom Aukerman, all the way from Maui, Hawaii. He is the muscle mechanic. Welcome into the studio.
Aloha. Thank you for having me.
Now, at Sean Ray would bill you at 6'7". I know you're only 6'5". How many hours did it take you to fly here?
Total hours, probably about 15 hours in flight. So.
Yeah, that's a long flight. Yeah. Now, I like people who really are not afraid to go out there and say, hey, I got a skill and I want to promote it and I'm going to go out of my way to do that. And, you know, you had seen someone else I had on the show and you're like, I got this, you know, Dave, you know me for how many years? I got this great thing. I want to try it on you.
Right.
And so you came out here on your own and you worked on me. We can show some of the footage in a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, I feel amazing. I feel like I'm floating on air.
I love it. And that's basically what I want to try to help everybody out there with is a lot of the injuries, because with the opioid crisis and whatnot, we just need different modalities to be able to eliminate the pain so that we can live kind of pain-free and do what we need to do.
I got your shirt on too.
Your muscle mechanic. Shirt. There we go.
The new website's going to be up soon, right?
Yes. Should be in about next 3 weeks. If they want to reach me now, they go to taukerman.com or Thomas Aukerman on Instagram.
Now, I got to give people the background on this because I don't just let anyone come over to my place and fly over here.
Yeah.
We know each other since 2002. You had contacted me about guest posing out in, I guess it was, what was the show they held there in
Muscle
Hawaii?
Fitness Classic.
Was that what Keith Jones called it?
Yeah.
Keith Jones was this like 400-pound guy who used to be an arm wrestling pro. He was his big claim to fame was he was in the movie Over the Top with Stallone.
Right.
And he brought out, he must have spent $1 million on the first show he held that first year. And was that 02?
Yeah, 02. And actually, Jeff Everson helped us.
Right, Jeffrey. I mean, Flex Wheeler was there. They had
Nasser El Sambati.
Right,
Garrett
Nasser
Downing.
was there. I was hanging out with Nasser the whole time, even though he pretended he was my friend. But I remember Flex Wheeler. Didn't he want like a Ferrari to drive around for the weekend?
Do you remember what happened with that Ferrari?
Tell the story.
So basically, Flex rented a Ferrari from one of the dealerships.
He was a judge at the bikini contest, and part of his deal with Keith Jones because he's like, I want a Ferrari for the week, right?
So what he did is that as he rented it and took it out of the lot, he did donuts in the parking lot and sped out. By the time he came back, he found out he burned out the engine. So what happened is they taxed his credit card for the amount of the engine.
How much was that? It was like 20 grand, right?
20 or 30 grand from what we understand. So it's pretty amazing.
Did he blow the engine or did he blow the tranny?
I think it was a tranny, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. He was doing burnouts with this thing. He was beating the piss out of this car.
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't believe the opulence of the amount of money that was spent on this show. I said, there's no way that this guy could have made any money on the show.
No, honestly, it was a loss, but
Sean was there, right?
Yeah,
Sean
actually had 7 guest posers, actually. So
I was one of the guest posers,
yes.
Of course. And I had a good time and everything. And that's when I met Tom. And then Tom's like, you know, we got to get you back next year and bring you to Maui. So the following year, I came back. We went to Maui, which was great. At the time, you were working at the Grand Wailea Hotel.
Right. And if you remember, there was a little mistake, so we put him in a...
Put it this way. I had just done the USA Championships. I had just done really well there. I just placed second, almost beat Chris Cook. And I was trend blown out of my mind. And Tom promised he was going to have me in this hotel. There was a problem. And then we were in this little ransacked hotel. And then I was going nuts. And then it was a crazy weekend. But I had a good time anyway. Because the Grand Wailea Hotel is
different.
At the time was the premier hotel, and you can stay in the spa treatments. I mean, you really hooked us up pretty well there. I got to tell you, I got to thank you for that. And then nowadays, you're telling me that's not even a top hotel anymore.
No, not at all.
What's the hotel you work at now?
I work at Montage, and that's on Kapalua Bay, and it's one of the only 5-star resorts on the island. So.
Wow, and that's where all the celebrities stay, right?
Right.
And what do you tell us what you do there?
I'm the master trainer and trigger point therapist. So a lot of treatments I did on Dave is what I do for the guests as well.
He had this power tool out on me, and you guys, Joseph, it was so loud. I thought my daughter was going to wake up, the newborn. And I mean, I don't know what you were doing to me, but it worked. Yeah. Some of the stuff was very painful.
Yes.
Because I obviously have a lot of injuries. You can see some of the footage here. And some of the stuff was not that painful, but I'll tell you something, it worked. I don't mind enduring pain if I know it's going to have a good outcome, you know.
Definitely.
That's how I look at it.
Definitely.
That's that power tool you were using.
Yeah, the trigger point therapy gun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. They make ones that are not quite as loud anymore. I think we got to upgrade you a little bit.
That's the original gun, but I like it.
That's what Derek Farnsworth worked on me. Yeah. The same kind of going to be shooting nails into a board or something.
It almost feels like that too sometimes.
Yeah. Now, if you could remember back to when I was in Hawaii the last time, who is probably, I'm trying to think. What was Nasser's shtick there? Wasn't he complaining about something? He was always complaining about something every place I went. What was his complaint there?
Man, there's a lot of stuff with Nasser.
I can't remember what he was complaining about. He was complaining about something. He wouldn't shut the hell up.
Yeah, there's a lot of different issues. And I mean, we had the mistake with the chicken thighs with you and not the chicken breast, and there was a lot of mistakes and whatnot. So,
I remember Ryan Kennelly was there too.
Yes, the bench press.
Ryan Kennelly had just set the world bench press record. And I think he still has the bench press record.
But back then it was only like 800 or 900 pounds.
Yeah, he'd done like almost 1,000. It was like 950 or something like that. But he was 19 years old, right? Yeah. And we were hanging out with him the whole week, which was really fun. Yeah. And it's funny because Maui is so much different than Oahu, Honolulu, where we were staying, for the show.
Definitely.
And it was a big difference. It's much more mellow and very serene there. And people are like, oh, it's so much better. And I'm like, no way, Maui's like where
seriously.
I don't even know why you'd ever want to leave there, to be honest with you. Yes. And when I went there, Tom's kids were like in strollers. Now they're like 24 years old and they're going to be competing. So it tells you how old they feel after that.
Seriously, me too.
But it was Hawaii is a great place to be. And I didn't even know that you're working with Sean Ray over there with the Sean Ray Classics that he's holding over there in Hawaii now.
We help promote a lot of the shows. It's actually growing extremely. So because of different classes, a lot more people are able to compete now as opposed to just open bodybuilding. So it's opened a lot of doors.
Yeah, it was small when I was there, the show. Now it's like you said with all the classes. I mean, if you can't find bikini competitors in Hawaii, I don't know where else what else are you gonna do. And quite honestly, from California to Hawaii, it's not that bad of a flight.
No, and actually on the first show that we had over 300 competitors.
Right.
So it was
that's crazy. Yeah. So let's talk about the therapy that you did on me, because this is something you hold very dear to your heart. Yes. You're very passionate about it. You're into fixing people.
Right.
That's why you're the muscle mechanic.
Right.
Where do you see yourself going with this? Obviously, you're working at a very fancy resort in Maui. I know you want to get more into the bodybuilding world, working on pro bodybuilders and maybe retired guys like me that are beat up and stuff like that. What's your vision?
So basically right now I've been working at the resort setting for quite a time. So a lot of athletes, celebrities, and professionals come and I'm able to deal with them. But I just want to expound this open to a lot more people so that they can get the services that they need and alleviate the pain and be able to compete, because I mean,
there's some pain I was feeling right there. You were releasing my chest, my pec muscle?
Yep, subclavial muscle.
That was really painful. But you know what? As you get older, you start hunching forward, and you know what? That will alleviate that, right?
Yes.
A lot of it's people don't realize, they think you just do that as you get older because that's what happens, but it's muscular, right?
All muscular. Well, like we were talking about, is that when you lose the posture because of all the tech stuff that you're using, your shoulders round forward and you actually pinch a lot of the nerves that are in the blood vessels are here. You can have tingling in your hands, inner thighs that we discussed.
Well, yeah, I think I want to bring up a good thing. I've been suffering with the bottom of my foot, I guess tensor fascia lata down there. And I just thought it was because when I tore my quad, I've been compensating. But you're like showing me further up my leg, in my inner thigh almost, that it's all bound up in there. And you're saying that's preventing the nerves from transmitting and the circulation, and it's tugging on that area, which is because I feel this pulsing feeling during the night, especially when I'm sleeping. It drives me crazy. It wakes me up. I can't sleep. Yeah. And there's nothing, I could rub it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything because it's not the foot that's the problem. Yeah. It's further up the chain.
Well, I mean, I guess we could take somebody like Ronnie Coleman as an example. Right. You have somebody that gets injured and keeps pushing and keeps pushing and keep pushing. Your body's only going to endure so much. Even like they say with attachments to biceps and all this stuff, there's not just one or two. I mean, we're discovering now that you could have up to 5 attachments in some,
really?
2 in one and 1 in the other. I mean, even with the psoas muscle and the sciatic nerve, I mean, 80% is underneath, the nerve is underneath, and 20% is above. So, I mean, the body mechanics and configuration is quite different. So everybody's a little bit different on how, alleviate the pain in it.
Right. So sometimes, like, if you have a chronic issue, chronic meaning it's always there. It could be something that you don't even think about. So you might have a pain in your thumb.
Right.
It could be caused by your shoulder.
Yeah.
Or your neck even.
Perfect example is I worked on a gentleman last night, BMX rider, and he hurt something in his shin. And he's like, Tom, I have a lot of scar tissue in my shin, but I actually have back pain. And I'm like, okay, give me a minute. And I started working the shin, a lower tibia portion, and then quite a bit of adhesions and whatnot released. And he says, I feel that up in my hip. And I says, I know this is where it's coming from. He's like, that doesn't make sense. This is unbelievable. And I said, just give me a minute. We released it, and he stood up and he said, the pain in my back is gone.
It's crazy.
So,
yeah. And you know what I like about you too? You don't try to. You're not calling it like the Tom Aukerman approach. You're like, look, I learned trigger point. I'm doing trigger point. Trigger point's been around for 5,000 years probably, and it works. And that's what I do, and I'm good at it, and I have good instincts on it. And I got to tell you, you do have good instincts. It worked on me. I mean, you really helped me a lot. And you were rubbing CBD oil over me.
Right.
Explain the idea behind that.
Okay, so
Cannabinoid oil.
as you know, with the type of treatments that are going on, they're extremely tender in a lot of areas. So once we're done with that, I try to implement the CBD oil into the muscles as we do it to create an anti-inflammation.
Maybe that's why I feel so good right now.
Yeah,
Probably high on CBD oil.
Yeah, and it makes it so that your body doesn't retract and coil up again. So we're just trying to keep you open. I'm actually dealing with a company called Malama Organics on that, and they're wonderful because they're based out of Maui and a lot of natural stuff.
So they grow the CBD, they grow the hemp in the...
Right now it's in California, but we're putting the production over to Maui within the year.
Do you guys have good soil in Hawaii?
Oh, God. It's black.
I thought the volcanic soil is not good, no?
Volcanic soil is the most nurturing thing there is.
Right, but is there room to grow this stuff? Because you can't have that much room.
Well, actually, Shane Victorino, the baseball player, as I mentioned, has 10 acres in Molokai that he's actually growing.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, you're right. You told me that before. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a big industry.
Because you were telling me like a lot of the CBD oil is tainted in different places. Like you said, China they have mercury in it, and in Russia they have the radiation from Chernobyl in there.
Right. I mean, like we were discussing. I mean, they grow hemp in Chernobyl to pull the radiation out of the soil, and then it's in the buds. Then they produce it and they sell it to us. So I mean, when you have all these people that are kind of rubbing the CBD on and not getting the effects or getting sick or whatnot, you have to look at where it comes from because the science around CBD is solid.
Right. Well, I felt good on it, and I'm still obviously recovering.
Right.
I just started like training a little bit my right shoulder because I just had the shoulder replacement about 6 months ago. So you definitely got rid of a lot of scar tissue. I was really kind of locked down too because of all the years of compensation too from that. I mean. When I came to you in 2002, I was starting to really have shoulder problems. Then that's what 17 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. I mean, I dealt with almost 18 years before I got, and I had shoulder problems before that, but it really was starting to affect me in 2002. So, you basically undid a lot of damage I did to myself. And once again, this is something that obviously, if you can do it on a regular basis, it would be better. But I mean, how many people? There's not that many people like you around. And
well, I mean, just to explain, trigger point therapy has been around, from what we understand, for about 100 years. A doctor named Dr. Jenna Travell created this, and her claim to fame is that JFK had a back problem. He was taking, at that time, what we would consider opioids.
Right.
And it was just too much. And basically, for whatever reason, he found out that she had some type of treatment that could help. He called her into the White House. She was
working on him?
Yeah, took care of his treatment. And then after that, he stopped everything, and she became his personal physician.
Wow. Yeah, I'd hire her too if I was in that much pain. Because he had, obviously, I think he had Addison's disease, right? Yeah. So he had a lot of muscle degeneration anyway because he had too much cortisol output. Yeah. Or not enough. And so he had problems. They said he was probably not going to live a long life anyway if he hadn't gotten assassinated because he had his body was degenerating basically from that. Yeah. So when you do trigger point treatment on someone, is that something that will stick? In other words, do I have to keep getting it done, or am I kind of, now that you released me, am I released?
Okay, so basically you have to remember that you were put in that position for a reason. So like if you're a techie and you're rolling your shoulders forward, just because I release it doesn't mean you're going to stop being a techie. Right. You know what I mean? So you have to readjust the compensation that you're overcompensating.
Are we all getting like this because we're all on our phones all the time?
And actually,
what can you do with just in daily practice to prevent that from happening?
In most cases, because I drive long distance and our seats in our car does not conform to our back, if you can put a pillow in the lower back and pull your shoulders back, anything that's going to regain your posture is going to help you.
What do you think about those? I see they sell these devices on Amazon. You can put them on, and they actually move pull you into that position. Yeah. Do you think they're any good?
Well, I mean, it's just like some old school bodybuilders say, is that you don't need a weight belt if your abs and back are strong. Right. You know what I mean? So it just depends on your rule.
I mean, do you think if you wear something like that will actually pull you and retract you back, is that going to weaken your muscles?
It's not necessarily weaken, but I mean, it could give you a little memory.
Mental, yeah, that's one thing. It's almost like the Charles Glass, wear the weight belt around you so you can pull your stomach in, type of thing.
So, but the whole thing is once we release you, then you restructure yourself back to the normal modality, and then it's easier and easier and easier.
Right. Now, I know you're going to go work on some guys when you leave here, you're going to fly around and work on a couple people. What if people want to hire you? What if some people are really messed up and they're like, I need Tom. I'd like to see how experience him. Maybe they got a bunch of people they're going to get together. And they want to bring you in. How do they contact you?
So basically what I want to try to do is at professional events, whether Mr. Olympia, Arnold Classic, national events, or anything like this, if there's a group of people that would like to get some type of treatment before or after, if they kind of come together and they can go to Thomas Aukerman, Ockerman on Instagram, or T Aukerman, same last name, .com. You can contact me through there, DM me, we can figure out, what to do. Right. Create a group setting. I fly over. I'll take care of everybody and go from there.
Right. I think that's the best way to do it because, and then there's just a bunch of guys like look at all these guys in Canada that train at the same gym. What if they wanted to bring? I mean, you can go up there and you can work on all of them for a week or so. So I think it's what you're doing is great. I think the fact that you love what you're doing is even more impressive. And I want to thank you for flying all the way over here to Florida to work on me. Definitely. And I'll probably have to snag you for another day or so because I feel so good that there's got to be more damage that I need undone.
I definitely want to come back. So
how often can you do trigger point? Should you
something like that could be done up to 5 or 6 times a day, depending on how deep that you have to go. Because I mean, the general process of this you have to understand is you're not cut, injured, bruised, or anything. Is that the pain that you feel with the trigger points is actually locked toxins that are in the muscle. So the more that you can increase the circulation, you release the toxin and you don't have the pain.
Should I be drinking a lot of fluids after this?
Fluids is always the most important thing, but the CBD usually took place of, what the fluids would give you.
Good. Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming into the studio.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for having me all those years ago. And, good luck. I know the Sean Ray Classics are coming up in November. And if anyone wants to get in touch with Tom, it's taukerman.com. You could also hit him up on Instagram. If anyone can't get in touch with him, you can always reach out to me, and I can put you in touch with him.
Please.
All right. And then, guys, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of RX Muscles in Studio. I'm Dave Palumbo with Tom Aukerman. We'll see you next time.